My wife secretly rented our house on Airbnb while I was away for business, but when I found out she was living with her personal trainer while I was gone, I exposed everything to her family and watched her life fall apart. I, 35M, have been married to Sarah, 33F, for 8 years. We met through mutual friends at a CrossFit gym where she was working as a trainer. I still remember that day clearly. I was terrible at CrossFit, completely out of my element, but she was patient and encouraging. She had this infectious laugh and genuine way of connecting with people. Within weeks, we were spending all our free time together, bonding over our shared love of fitness, though she was definitely more dedicated than I was, and outdoor adventures. I'm a software engineering manager at a big tech company, which requires me to travel to our offices abroad every few months for 2 to 3 weeks at a time. It's a demanding job, long hours, constant video calls across time zones, and the stress of managing global teams. But it's also incredibly rewarding. The job pays really well. I make around $280,000 annually, which has allowed us to buy a beautiful 5-bedroom house in an upscale neighborhood and live quite comfortably. Sarah always said she was proud of my success, loved hosting dinner parties for my colleagues, and seemed to enjoy the lifestyle my income provided. She had a particular talent for interior design and had turned our house into something that could have been featured in a magazine. Every time I returned from a business trip, she'd have completed some new home improvement project, a renovated guest bathroom, a new garden layout, or updated decor. I always thought it was her way of keeping busy while I was gone, never suspecting there might be a darker motivation behind her constant need to perfect our living space. Sarah continued working as a personal trainer even after we got married, saying she loved helping people achieve their fitness goals. I supported her passion completely, even though her income was significantly lower than mine. She had this incredible ability to transform people's lives. Her clients would often stop me at the gym to rave about how she'd helped them overcome their fitness fears and achieve things they never thought possible. Watching her light up when talking about her clients' progress made me fall in love with her even more. Our different income levels were never an issue. We were a team, and her passion for helping others was worth more than any salary difference. We had a great life together, traveled frequently, renovated our dream home, and were planning to start a family soon. At least that's what I thought. Things started getting weird about 6 months ago. Looking back now, I can pinpoint the exact moment when our marriage began to unravel, though I was too blind to see it then. We were having dinner at our favorite Italian restaurant, celebrating my recent promotion, when Sarah seemed distracted and kept checking her phone. When I asked about it, she quickly said it was just a client emergency, but her smile didn't reach her eyes like it used to. That was the first crack in our foundation, though I didn't recognize it at the time. I noticed Sarah was being really pushy about my upcoming business trips, constantly asking for exact dates and durations. She'd never cared much about the details before. She also started acting strange when I'd mentioned coming home early or changing travel dates. Looking back, I should have seen these as red flags. The real shock came during my last 3-week trip to our London office. I have this Ring doorbell camera that sends notifications to my phone whenever there's movement. Usually, I don't pay much attention to them when I'm away since it's just Sarah going about her day. But one morning, I got a notification at 2 a.m. London time, 6 p.m. back home, and saw a group of strangers entering our house with luggage. I immediately called Sarah, but she didn't pick up. I texted her asking who these people were, but she just replied saying they were her cousins visiting from out of town. Something felt off. I knew all her cousins, and these people didn't look familiar at all. Plus, why wouldn't she mention having house guests? I started paying more attention to the Ring notifications. Every few days, I'd see different groups of people coming and going with luggage. Some would stay for 2 to 3 days, others for a week. The weird part? Sarah's car was rarely in the driveway anymore. I did some digging online and found our house listed on Airbnb. My heart nearly stopped when I saw our home, our sanctuary, advertised like some hotel. The listing description was painfully detailed, highlighting the chef's kitchen we renovated together for our 5th anniversary and the peaceful garden perfect for morning meditation. She'd even posted photos of our bedroom, where we'd spent countless Sunday mornings planning our future family. The bed was made with the handmade quilt her grandmother had given us as a wedding gift. Seeing our private space marketed to strangers made me physically ill. The host's profile picture was cropped, but I recognized our master bedroom and backyard in the photos. The listing had been active for months, with numerous reviews praising the beautiful home and convenient location. I was furious. Sarah was renting out our house to strangers without telling me. But where was she staying all this time? I messaged one of her coworkers at the gym, pretending I wanted to surprise Sarah with lunch. That's when I discovered she hadn't worked at that gym for over 4 months. I hired a private investigator, which may seem extreme, but I needed to know what was going on. The PI was a former police detective who specialized in infidelity cases. He warned me that once he started digging, there was no going back. Some truths can't be unlearned. But I was already past the point of no return. I needed to understand the full scope of Sarah's betrayal. Within a week, he found out Sarah had been living with some guy, her new personal training client turned boyfriend, in his downtown apartment. The PI provided surveillance photos, video footage, and even credit card records showing their daily routines. They were living like a married couple, shopping together, going to restaurants, even walking a dog they'd apparently adopted together. She'd created an entire parallel life while I was away, complete with its own domestic rituals that mockingly mirrored our own. The guy's apartment was in one of those trendy downtown high-rises with a rooftop pool and fitness center. Sarah had always said she hated downtown living, too noisy, too crowded, not enough green space. But there she was, playing house in exactly the kind of place she'd claimed to despise. The Pies photo showed her lounging by the pool, doing yoga on the rooftop, living a life that seemed designed to be as different from our suburban existence as possible. She'd apparently been seeing him for months, using my business trips to play house with him while making money renting out our home. Instead of confronting her immediately, I decided to gather more evidence. Each new discovery was like a knife to my heart, but I forced myself to document everything methodically. I created a detailed spreadsheet of all the Airbnb bookings, cross-referenced with my business trips. She'd timed everything perfectly, waiting until I was at least 8 hours ahead in a different time zone before bringing in guests. The level of calculation behind her betrayal made it even worse. This wasn't some impulsive mistake, this was a carefully orchestrated double life. I downloaded all the Airbnb receipts, screenshots of reviews, and Ring camera footage. I also got photos of her coming and going from this guy's apartment. She had no idea I knew anything. Part 2. My wife secretly rented our house on Airbnb while I was away for business, but when I found out she was living with her personal trainer while I was gone, I exposed everything to her family and watched her life fall apart. When I got back from London, she acted completely normal, like nothing was wrong. She'd cleaned the house thoroughly, no trace of any guests. She even prepared my favorite dinner. I played along, asking about her month, letting her lie straight to my face. The next day, while she was supposedly at work, I invited her entire family over for an emergency family meeting. These were people who had welcomed me into their family with open arms. Her mom had taught me her secret recipes, her dad had helped me rebuild our deck last summer, and her siblings treated me like their own brother. They'd trusted me with their precious Sarah, and now I had to show them how thoroughly she'd betrayed that trust. The guilt of being the messenger was almost overwhelming, but they deserved to know the truth. Her parents, siblings, and even her grandparents showed up, worried something was wrong. I set up a projector and presented everything, the Airbnb listing, the Ring footage, bank statements showing thousands in rental income, and finally, the photos of her with her boyfriend. Her mom actually fainted. Her dad, a respected church elder, looked like he wanted to crawl into a hole and die. Sarah walked in halfway through the presentation, returning from another afternoon at her boyfriend's place. The look on her face when she saw her entire family sitting in our living room, watching evidence of her double life on our projector screen, priceless. She tried to spin some story about feeling lonely during my business trips and needing extra income for our future family. Her mom cut her off, asking how she could betray our marriage and family values like this. Her dad couldn't even look at her. I told everyone I'd already contacted a divorce lawyer and would be filing papers the next day. I had copies of all the evidence ready for her family to take home. Her grandmother, who had given Sarah her precious family heirloom ring for our engagement, demanded it back on the spot. Sarah broke down, crying and begging for another chance. She fell to her knees in front of her family, mascara running down her face, looking nothing like the confident, composed woman I'd married. "Please," she sobbed, grabbing my hand. "I'll do anything. I'll quit my job, I'll go to therapy, I'll never talk to him again." Her mother watched in horror as her perfect daughter shattered into pieces on our living room floor. The same floor where we'd danced on our wedding night, where we'd celebrated holidays, where we'd planned to watch our future children take their first steps. She claimed the other guy meant nothing, that she'd end things immediately. But as far as I was concerned, she'd ended our marriage the moment she decided to move in with him and turn our home into a hotel. The next few days were a blur of lawyers, paperwork, and Sarah's family members calling to apologize for her behavior. Her dad even offered to pay for my lawyer fees. I declined. Sarah kept trying to talk to me, sending endless texts about how sorry she was and how she'd make it up to me. I blocked her number. Thanks to the evidence I'd gathered and Sarah's family's pressure, she agreed to an uncontested divorce. I'm keeping the house. Turns out her rental business money was helping pay for her boyfriend's gambling debts. Real winner she picked there. It's been 2 weeks since everything blew up. I'm still processing how the woman I loved and trusted could betray me like this. Our mutual friends are shocked. Apparently, she told everyone I was okay with her renting out the house and that we had an arrangement during my business trips. The positive side? My company's CEO heard about my situation and offered to let me work remotely for a few months to deal with everything. He shared that he'd gone through something similar in his first marriage and understood the need for space and time to heal. It was a reminder that life goes on, that betrayal isn't the end of the story. His support and understanding meant more than any corporate benefits package could offer. I'm thinking of renting out the house, legally this time, and traveling for a while. Maybe I'll even work from our Tokyo office for a bit. Always wanted to live in Japan. Sarah's living with her parents now. Her boyfriend dumped her as soon as he realized the Airbnb money was gone. Her dad called yesterday, saying she's starting therapy and asking if I'd consider couples counseling. I wished them well but told him my decision was final. I know this story might seem extreme, but I learned an important lesson. Trust your gut when things feel off. And always install security cameras. Update 1. It's been a month since my last post, and things have gotten even more interesting. Remember how I mentioned Sarah's boyfriend had gambling debts? Well, turns out that was just the tip of the iceberg. The truth that came out was far worse than anything I could have imagined, and honestly, some days I still have trouble believing how deep this deception went. After my post went viral in our local community, apparently, Her family members shared my evidence presentation with their church group. Several other women came forward with similar stories about this guy. Each story followed an eerily similar pattern. He'd scope out successful personal trainers at high-end gyms, preferably ones who were married to well-off husbands or had access to significant financial resources. He had a whole playbook: start as a client, shower them with attention, gradually build emotional dependency, then introduce his temporary financial troubles. Sarah's dad, determined to save his daughter's soul or something, hired a private investigator of his own. I have to admit, watching her father, a proud man who'd always been so certain of his daughter's moral character, piece together the extent of her deception was heartbreaking. The PI's findings were shocking. This guy had systematically targeted at least 5 other women in the past 3 years. Each time, he'd follow the same script: romance them, move in with them, always under some pretense of a temporary arrangement, and then start bleeding them dry financially. He'd convince them to either take out loans for him or find creative ways to make extra money, like, renting out their houses on Airbnb. The real kicker? He's married. Has been the whole time. His wife lives in another state with their kids, thinking he's working as a traveling fitness consultant. Sarah had no idea. Apparently, he told her he was divorced and his ex was crazy and jealous. When Sarah found out about his wife, she completely broke down. This wasn't just a quiet crying session, it was a full mental collapse. She showed up at our house at 3 a.m., mascara streaked down her face, still wearing her gym clothes from the day before. She was completely drunk, barely able to stand, alternating between hysterical sobbing and angry screaming about how her life was ruined. The neighbors actually called the police, thinking there was a domestic disturbance. I didn't let her in, but I couldn't just leave her out there in that state. I called her brother while trying to calm her down through the door. She kept saying she'd lost everything for nothing and that she deserved to be alone. It was awful to watch, even after everything she'd done. Kind of felt bad for her, to be honest, but not bad enough to reconsider the divorce. The investigation into her boyfriend caught the attention of local police, who were already building a case against him for fraud. Part 3. My wife secretly rented our house on Airbnb while I was away for business, but when I found out she was living with her personal trainer while I was gone, I exposed everything to her family and watched her life fall apart. They interviewed Sarah for hours, and according to her brother, she broke down completely during questioning. She wasn't just renting out our house, she'd also taken out a $50,000 personal loan to help pay off his temporary gambling debt. She'd forged my signature on some of the loan documents, using our joint tax returns to qualify. She thought he'd pay her back when his big sports betting system paid off. The loan officer who processed the paperwork was an old client of hers from the gym, another example of how she'd leveraged her personal relationships to enable her deception. The police revealed that the trainer had a sophisticated system for manipulating women. He maintained detailed notes on his phone about each victim's vulnerabilities and how to exploit them. For Sarah, he'd noted her perfectionism, her fear of being seen as a failure, and her insecurity about contributing less financially to our marriage. He'd methodically used these insights to manipulate her, gradually convincing her that she deserved more financial independence and excitement in her life. Looking back, I could see how he'd planted these seeds of dissatisfaction, nurturing them until they grew into full-blown betrayal. Her parents are mortified. They're helping her with therapy and financial counseling, trying to rebuild her credit and her life. Her dad keeps sending me long emails about forgiveness and redemption, but I'm staying firm on my decision. The trust is completely broken. I've decided to sell the house. Too many memories, and honestly, it feels weird knowing how many strangers have slept in my bed. Every room holds echoes of what we had and what we lost. The kitchen where we'd cook Sunday brunches together, the living room where we'd host game nights with friends, the garden we'd spent countless weekends perfecting, it all feels tainted now. I hired a professional cleaning service to deep clean everything, but they can't erase the memories or the betrayal that happened within these walls. My company's Japanese office welcomed me with open arms, so I'm moving to Tokyo next month. They're even helping with the relocation process and found me a beautiful apartment in Shibuya. It's smaller than our house, but it's exactly what I need, a clean slate in a city where nobody knows my story. I've started learning Japanese, throwing myself into the language studies as a way to keep my mind occupied. There's something therapeutic about focusing on mastering a completely new writing system while your old life crumbles around you. Fresh start, new culture, no reminders of Sarah's betrayal. The divorce should be finalized in a few weeks. Sarah's family insisted on selling her expensive car to help pay back the loan she took out. They're also making her volunteer at church and attend gambling addiction support groups, even though she wasn't the gambler. I guess they're trying to keep her busy and reformed. Some of our mutual friends have apologized for believing her lies about us having an arrangement. These conversations have been awkward and revealing. One couple, who we'd vacationed with multiple times, admitted they'd seen her with the other guy at restaurants but assumed we had some kind of open marriage agreement. Another friend confessed she'd helped Sarah set up the Airbnb listing, believing Sarah's story about me being totally fine with it and us using the money for fertility treatments. It's painful realizing how many people knew pieces of what was happening but never thought to verify it with me directly. The worst was finding out that our neighbors, Tom and Linda, who we'd had dinner with almost weekly for years, had been helping Sarah coordinate the Airbnb guests while I was away. They'd give out spare keys, handle check-ins, and even help clean between guests. Linda tearfully apologized, saying Sarah had convinced them it was all part of our modern marriage arrangement and the money was going towards our future family's nest egg. Finding out about their involvement felt like a second betrayal, These were people who'd celebrated holidays with us, who'd helped me plan Sarah's surprise 30th birthday party. Now I couldn't even look at their house without feeling sick. The only one I'm still in contact with is her brother. He's been keeping me updated on the legal case against the boyfriend, and he's actually planning to visit me in Tokyo next year. Said he always saw me as a brother and doesn't want to lose that relationship just because his sister messed up. Life is slowly getting better. The therapy's helping me process everything, not just Sarah's betrayal, but my own blind spots and the ways I might have contributed to our marriage's vulnerability. My therapist pointed out that while Sarah's actions were completely her choice, my frequent absences and intense focus on career success might have created fertile ground for someone like the trainer to exploit. It's a hard pill to swallow, but there's truth there. The decision to move to Tokyo wasn't just about escaping painful memories. During my business trips there, I'd always been drawn to the Japanese concept of Kaizen, continuous improvement. Now, I'm embracing that philosophy in my personal life. I've started practicing mindfulness meditation at a local temple, joined a photography club, and even signed up for cooking classes. My Japanese colleagues have become more than coworkers, they're friends who accept me without judgment, who don't look at me with the pity I got back home. Sarah's last attempt to contact me was through her therapist, who suggested we have a closure session. The therapist explained that Sarah was doing intensive trauma work, confronting the deep-seated perfectionism and fear of inadequacy that had made her susceptible to the trainer's manipulation. Part of me was curious about this therapeutic perspective on our collapse, but a bigger part knew that understanding the why wouldn't change the what. The Ring camera footage of her playing house with her conman boyfriend while renting out our home to strangers was all the closure I needed. Someone suggested I write a book about this experience. At first, I laughed it off, but now I'm actually considering it. Not just as a way to process my own trauma, but as a warning to others about the subtle ways relationships can unravel. About how the pursuit of perfection can become a prison, and how the facade of an ideal life can mask deep cracks in its foundation. Maybe I'll call it My Wife, the Airbnb Hustler, a modern love story gone wrong or perfect strangers, how my wife turned our home into a hotel and our marriage into a lie. The writing could be therapeutic, a way to reshape my narrative from victim to survivor. Plus, given how many people have been affected by similar scams, not just the trainer's other victims, but anyone who's had their trust shattered by someone they loved, maybe sharing my story could help others spot the warning signs before it's too late. My therapist thinks it's a good idea, saying that transforming pain into purpose can be a powerful healing tool. For now, though, I'm focusing on building my new life here in Tokyo. My Japanese language skills are improving daily, and I've even started dating again, nothing serious, just coffee meetings and cultural exchanges that remind me there's life after betrayal. The woman I met last week, a curator at a local museum, asked me if I regretted exposing Sarah's double life so publicly. I had to think about it before answering. No, I finally said. Some truths need to be spoken out loud, no matter how much they hurt.